I've learned a lot through my mistakes, stumbles, and losses in football.
You can sense the pain in his voice. He smiled through the cleft palate surgeries as a baby and the bullying as a kid, then smiled through the neck that almost ended him in the team that cut him after 14 years. At 50, the truth hiding behind that famous smile is heartbreaking. The hidden wounds behind the smile.
I have fought the good fight, and I have finished the race. I have kept the faith.
That's Peyton Manning. 5 MVPs, 2 Super Bowls, a Hall of Fame lock, the man who looked like he had it all figured out. But behind that smile, a body that almost gave up on him, surgeries that stole his arm, a team that cut him loose, and pain he still carries at 50. This is the side of Peyton Manning nobody wants to talk about. To understand why 50 hits Peyton Manning so hard, you have to go back to the very beginning. Back before the Super Bowls, back before the records, back to a baby boy in New Orleans who couldn't even feed properly. Peyton Manning was born March 24th, 1976, with a cleft palate, a gap in the roof of his mouth. As an infant, milk would come out of his nose. He needed special bottles just to eat. He had to undergo multiple surgeries, at least 2 major ones spread across roughly 18 years, just to close the gap and stabilize it as he grew. And it didn't stop there. He needed a bone graft at age 8 for his upper gum. He wore braces from age 4 to 15. His teeth came in crooked and extra. Kids being kids, the bullies came running. They mocked his speech. They mocked his face. They mocked the way he ate. Now imagine being 4 years old and already learning that the world isn't kind. That's where Peyton's story really begins. Not on a football field, not in a stadium, but at a kitchen table with a special bottle and a mother trying to keep her son fed. But the cleft palate was just the surface. There was something deeper hiding inside him, something he didn't even know about yet. Peyton was born with a congenital weakness in his neck and spine, a narrowing, a curvature, something that made him fragile in a way no quarterback should ever be. And the worst part? He had a front row seat to what that vulnerability could do to a man. His older brother Cooper, the one Peyton looked up to, the one who was supposed to be the next great Manning quarterback. Cooper had spinal stenosis. The doctors told him if he kept playing football, he could end up paralyzed. Just like that, Cooper's career was over before it even started. Peyton wore number 18 in high school in honor of Cooper. Every time he pulled that jersey over his head, it was a reminder that the same thing could happen to him. A reminder that his neck, that his spine was a ticking time bomb. That fear lived in him every single down, every single hit, every single Sunday. Now, you can't talk about Peyton Manning's pressures without talking about his father, Archie Manning, NFL quarterback, New Orleans Saints legend, the patriarch of America's first football family. But Archie carried his own ghosts. Archie's father, Peyton's grandfather, died by suicide while Archie was home from college. A shotgun. Archie was the one who found the body. He almost dropped out of football right there, and then to take care of his mother. That trauma shaped how Archie raised his sons. He hugged them every day. He told them he loved them. He vowed his boys would not grow up the way he did. So in one way, Peyton had everything Archie didn't have. But there's a flip side, because when you grow up as the son of an NFL quarterback, the expectations are already built in. You don't have to be told. You feel it in the air. You see it on every face that looks at you. Young Peyton would listen to his father's old game tapes on repeat. He would act out the plays in his living room. He was already living in Archie's shadow before he could even tie his own cleats. And then he stepped onto the field for his first NFL game. And the boy who'd been bullied, the boy who watched his brother walk away from football, the boy who carried his father's last name like a weight on his shoulders, that boy walked into the deep end.
In my very first NFL game, I completed my first pass to Hall of Fame running back Marshall Faulk.
Sounds like a dream debut, right? Hall of Fame teammates, big stage, bright lights. But what he doesn't tell you in that speech is what came right after.
Later, I completed the pass to tight end Marcus Pollard down the middle. And somebody hit me really hard.
That phrase right there, that would become the soundtrack of his entire career. Somebody hit him really hard, over and over and over again. For 18 years. He finished his rookie year 3-13 and set the NFL rookie record for interceptions, 28 of them, a record he still holds. The fans booed, the critics laughed. The label bust started floating around.
Every year I pull for a rookie quarterback to break that record.
He says it like a joke now, but back then, it was no joke. The boy who'd already survived a cleft palate, bullying, a brother's career-ending injury, and the weight of his father's name, that boy was now being called a bust on national television. And here's the cruel part. Even when he turned it around, even when he became one of the most prolific quarterbacks in NFL history, even when he was breaking record after record after record, they still found a reason to drag him. They called him a choker. They said he couldn't win in the playoffs. His final playoff record was 14-13, barely above 500 for a man who put up Hall of Fame regular seasons. Critics dismissed his record-breaking stats as empty calories. But the real damage wasn't the noise outside. It was what was happening inside his body, inside his neck. That ticking time bomb his brother Cooper warned him about, it was about to go off. And when it did, it almost ended everything. The body that betrayed him. It started with a hit in 2006. Washington Redskins defensive end Philip Daniels caught Peyton with a shot that aggravated a herniated disc in his neck. At the time, nobody thought much of it. Quarterbacks get hit, they shake it off. They get back up. But Peyton's body was different. That congenital weakness he was born with, the same one that took Cooper out of football, it was waiting. And that hit woke it up. For 4 years, he played through it. 5 MVPs, a Super Bowl ring in 2006, 12-win seasons stacked on top of each other. From the outside, he looked invincible.
And we went on to do some phenomenal things, like winning at least 12 games, 7 years in a row.
But inside, the disc was bulging, the nerves were getting pinched, the arm was getting weaker, and Peyton, being Peyton, kept it all to himself. Then in February 2010, the dam started cracking. He went in for surgery to fix a pinched nerve in his neck, one procedure. He thought that would be the end of it. He thought he could just rehab and get back to dominating defenses. He had no idea what was coming. By early 2011, the symptoms came roaring back, but worse, way worse. Pain shooting down his arm, numbness in his throwing hand, loss of grip strength. He couldn't even hold the football the way he used to. The arm he'd built his entire career on was failing him. So, he went back under the knife. On May 23, 2011, he had a decompressive surgery, a posterior foraminotomy, to repair a bulging and herniated disc. He thought that one would do it. It didn't. 2 months later, in July 2011, he was back in the operating room for another decompressive procedure after the disc reherniated. 2 surgeries in 2 months, and his throwing hand was still shaking. The ball was still nosediving when he threw it. Then came the big one. On September 8, 2011, Peyton underwent a single-level anterior cervical fusion. They removed the damaged disc entirely. They took a piece of bone, a graft, and packed it into the empty space. Then they screwed a titanium plate onto his vertebrae to lock everything in place forever. 3 to 5 neck procedures in roughly 19 months. Let that sink in for a second. The man wasn't a quarterback anymore. He was a medical experiment, a walking question mark, a patient who happened to have a Hall of Fame resume, sitting in a folder somewhere while doctors poked around his spine, trying to figure out if he'd ever throw a football again. And when he tried to throw a football for the first time after the fusion, it was heartbreaking. He couldn't even throw 5 yards without the ball nosediving into the dirt. The same arm that used to slice apart cover 2 defenses, the same arm that made Marvin Harrison look like a track star, the same arm that picked apart Bill Belichick on national television. That arm couldn't get the ball to a stationary target 10 feet away. His brother Eli, 5 years younger, supposedly the lesser quarterback, the kid Peyton used to teach how to grip the laces, had to play catch with him like he was a Pop Warner kid all over again. Imagine the silence between those throws. Imagine the brother who looked up to you watching you struggle to do the one thing you've done your entire life. He started his rehab with 5-pound dumbbells. 5 pounds. The same arm that had thrown for nearly 50,000 yards in the NFL was now lifting weights a child could lift. The same arm that had a 5-time MVP attached to it was being treated like a freshly broken toy. He had to fly down to Duke University and work with his old college mentor, David Cutcliffe, just to relearn how to throw a football, the way a stroke patient relearns how to hold a spoon. Doctors couldn't even guarantee he would ever play again. Not play at his level, play at all, period. He missed the entire 2011 season. His streak of 227 consecutive regular season starts, one of the most legendary streaks in NFL history, was over. And while he was sitting at home learning to throw again, the people he gave 14 years of his life to were already moving on without him. The Indianapolis Colts, the team he turned from a basketball and car race city into a football town, the team he carried to a Super Bowl, the team that retired his number before they should have ever even thought about it.
Friends, when I was drafted by the Colts, Indianapolis was a basketball and a car racing town.
That same team called him in for a meeting in March 2012. They cut him, just like that, after 14 years, after 5 MVPs, after a championship banner hanging from the rafters. Why? Because keeping him meant paying a $28 million bonus, and because the team had already made up their mind. They were going to draft a kid named Andrew Luck and start over. Manning called it devastating. "There is no other team I wanted to play for," he said. He had spent 14 years being the face of that franchise, selling out Lucas Oil Stadium, lifting the city, and in one cold meeting, he was just gone. Imagine that. You give your body to a place, you give them your prime years, you give them your neck, literally your spine. And they cut you because the math doesn't work anymore. He stood at that podium with his eyes red. He thanked the city, he thanked his teammates, and then he walked out into the unknown with a fused neck, a weak arm, and a career that everyone, and I mean everyone, said was finished. The Denver Broncos took the chance. Free agent visit, physical exam, long meetings about whether the arm would ever come back. John Elway and the Broncos signed him to a 5-year, $96 million contract in March 2012. And Peyton being Peyton, he didn't just come back, he shattered the league. In 2013, he threw 55 touchdown passes, an NFL record. He shattered the single-season passing yards mark too, with 5,477 yards. He won his 5th MVP, becoming the first player in league history to win the award that many times. He took the Broncos to the Super Bowl. The man whose career was supposed to be over was rewriting the record book in real time, but the body kept whispering. Then it started screaming. In 2014, he tore his quadriceps. In 2015, severe plantar fasciitis ripped through the bottom of his foot. He missed 6 games. He had a torn quad on top of that. His stats dropped to 9 touchdowns and 17 interceptions in just 10 games. The arm strength was gone. The fastball was a memory. He got benched. The same Peyton Manning who once threw 55 touchdowns in a single season got benched. The kid who replaced him was Brock Osweiler.
I think when you go through an injury, go through a tough time, I think having a good attitude is important.
He puts a brave face on it now. But you know what was happening behind that brave face? A man watching his career, the only thing he'd worked for since he was a kid, slip out of his hands one finger at a time. He clawed his way back into the lineup for the playoffs through sheer stubbornness. The Broncos rode their historic defense all the way to Super Bowl 50, while Peyton played the role of game manager, a label that would have been an insult to him just 3 years earlier. And on February 7th, 2016, with a shadow of his former arm strength, with toes twisted into obtuse angles inside his cleats, with a neck held together by titanium and screws, Peyton Manning lifted the Lombardi Trophy one last time. He hugged his father in tears afterward. It should have been the perfect ending, the fairy tale. But the price he paid for that trophy, he's still paying it, right now, at 50 years old. And what's been happening behind closed doors since he walked away from the game? That's where this story gets even harder to watch. The price he's still paying. After Super Bowl 50, Peyton walked off the field and hugged his father in tears. He knew, everyone knew, there was no more left in the tank.
Well, I fought a good fight. I finished my football race. And after 18 years, it's time. God bless all of you, and God bless football.
That retirement speech in March 2016, the country watched it. They cried with him. They thought it was the closing chapter of one of the greatest careers in NFL history. But it wasn't a closing chapter. It was the start of the long bill coming due. Let's start with the body. 18 years of hits, 3 to 5 neck procedures, torn quads, plantar fasciitis, knee surgeries. The toll was already brutal when he retired at 39. Now imagine adding a decade to that. Manning has openly talked about lingering numbness in his fingertips, a souvenir from the cervical fusion that never fully went away. His toes are described as twisted and bent into obtuse angles, permanently deformed from years of cleats and impacts. After games during his career, it would take him 15+ minutes just to take off his clothes because the pain was so deep. He'd be covered in bruises and cuts. Now those bruises have turned into chronic aches that follow him every day. He's already had knee replacement work. He's joked publicly about needing a hip replacement around 52. And the most heartbreaking one, his hearing has declined dramatically, at one point down to 22% in one ear, even with hearing aids. He had to undergo a cochlear implant just to be able to hear his own kids talk to him at the dinner table. Imagine that. The man who could read defenses in a fraction of a second, who could hear the linebacker's footsteps before the snap, couldn't hear his own daughter ask him about her day at school. That's Peyton telling the story of his 5-year-old daughter Mosley asking him before Super Bowl 50 if it was his last game ever. He laughed about it then, but that little girl is now a teenager, and her dad is 50 years old, with a body that whispers to him every time he tries to lift her off the ground. Now look at what happened in retirement that the world rarely talks about. In December 2021, Peyton's close friend and Super Bowl 50 teammate Demaryius Thomas died. He was 33 years old. The cause was a seizure, with possible links to CTE complications. connections. You have to understand what Demaryius meant to Peyton. He was the guy who told Peyton he loved him after every play in Denver.
I'll miss Demaryius Thomas telling me that he loved me and thanking me for coming to Denver.
Peyton called him a Hall of Fame person who treated his kids like family and never missed a charity event. He had texted him just days before he died, and then the news came. 33 years old, gone. Manning was, in his own words, absolutely devastated. He created the 18 to 88 scholarship in Demaryius' honor. He still chokes up when he talks about him in interviews years later. And here's the dark thread underneath it all: the suspected CTE link, the same kind of football brain damage that haunts every former NFL player, including Peyton himself. Then there are the controversies that won't die. Back in 1996, when Peyton was a 19-year-old at the University of Tennessee, a trainer named Jamie Nawright accused him of pulling down his pants and pressing himself against her face during a foot exam. She reported it as sexual assault. Manning denied it, claiming he was mooning another athlete. No charges were filed, but the story didn't go away. Nawright settled with Tennessee. Then she sued the Mannings for defamation after Peyton's 2000 book described her in unflattering terms. That suit settled too. And then in 2016, right before Super Bowl 50, the biggest moment of his comeback, the story resurfaced in the middle of a broader Title IX lawsuit against Tennessee. It hung over his retirement. It hangs over his legacy. On top of that, in 2015, an Al Jazeera report alleged Manning received human growth hormone during his neck rehab, supposedly delivered through his wife Ashley. Manning called it garbage. The NFL investigated. He was cleared. That's how he handled the questions even on the day he announced his retirement, with a smile, with grace. But you could see it in his eyes. The cost, now he's 50. He's worth a fortune. Net worth estimates run between $250 and $300 million, driven by his media company Omaha Productions, Manningcast, endorsements, and smart investments. By every external measure, the guy is winning. But money can't fix a fused neck. Money can't replace a hearing nerve. Money can't bring Demaryius Thomas back.
Honestly, like for the majority of my life, that's kind of how I've lived, like kind of just like free flow throughout the day. And then I've recently understood the importance of just intentionality.
Listen to him talk in retirement now. He's softer, he's calmer. He's coaching his son's 6th grade football team as the assistant offensive coordinator, not even the head coach, because in his words, he isn't qualified. His son Marshall is 15 now, a quarterback prospect at Baylor School in Chattanooga, Tennessee, drawing recruiting attention as part of the 2030 class. And here we go again. Another Manning, another last name, another set of expectations being loaded onto a kid's shoulders before his voice has even fully changed. Peyton sees it coming from a mile away. He's lived it. He carried Archie's name through every snap of his 18-year career, feeling the weight of being a Manning before he could even drive. He watched his nephew Arch Manning carry the name through a rough, scrutinized college career at Texas. And now his own 15-year-old son is stepping into the same fire with the same last name burning behind him. Because Peyton Manning gave his body, his neck, his hearing, his toes, his fingertips for the big things. The Super Bowls, the MVPs, the records, the fame, the fortune. And now at 50, he's quietly trying to enjoy the small ones. The school drop-offs, the volleyball games, the dinner table conversations he can finally hear again because of a cochlear implant.
Football has taught me not to be led by obstructions and setbacks, but instead to be led by dreams. Due to some good genes, I'm smart enough to know that those lessons can enrich who I am and where I go from here.
He says he's grateful, he says he's at peace, and maybe he is. But every time you watch him walk a little stiffer to the broadcast booth, every time you hear about another joint replacement, every time another former teammate dies young from CTE complications, you remember, the price was real. It still is. The boy with the cleft palate, the kid in his big brother's shadow, the rookie with 28 interceptions, the quarterback whose neck almost ended him, the legend who got cut by the team he built, the husband whose wife got dragged into a fake doping story, the friend who lost Demaryius, the father who couldn't hear his own kids. That's Peyton Manning at 50. Hall of Famer, yes. Champion, yes. Tragic? Also yes, because greatness, real greatness, doesn't come for free. And nobody, not even the most prepared quarterback in NFL history, gets to walk away without paying the bill. He fought the good fight, he finished his race, and now at 50, he's living with what that race cost him. God bless football, and God bless the man who gave it everything he had. What are your thoughts on Peyton's life story? Share in the comments and click on the cards on screen for more.